People always say that being a mother means giving everything you have, your time, your sleep, your money, your plans, your dreams, and for a long time. I believed that. My name is Sara, and the day my son called me to demand money for his college, tuition was the day everything I had quietly accepted about my life finally broke open. This is my story. And I am not here to be the villain. I am not here to be the saint either. I am here to tell you the truth. I was 22 years old when I got married. 22. I want you to sit with that number for a moment. I thought I knew exactly what love looked like. I thought I knew exactly what my future was going to be. His name was John. He was charming, he was confident, and I was young enough to confuse confidence with stability. We got married fast. The way young people do when they think love is enough to build a life on, and for a little while, it was beautiful. We were happy. Or at least, I was. When I was 24, I gave birth to our son. We named him Alex, and I remember holding him in that hospital room, looking down at that tiny face and thinking, this is it. This is everything. My family is complete. I had no idea that 3 years later, my husband would look at me across the kitchen table and tell me he wanted a divorce. Alex was 3 years old, and his father decided he was done. John didn't say he fell out of love with me. He didn't say there was someone else, he just said he wanted something different, something more, something that I was apparently not enough of. I cried, I begged, I asked him to try counselling, to try anything. I had a toddler on my hip and a heart that was completely shattered, and John left. But leaving wasn't enough for him. John moved out of the country, not to another city, not to another state. He left the country entirely, and the child support that should have come every month? It never came. Because when a man puts an ocean between himself and his responsibilities, the system struggles to reach him. I struggled. For a moment. Just a moment. And then I made a decision. I was not going to fall apart. I was not going to let my son grow up in the shadow of a man who chose to disappear. I had a career. I had a good job, one I had built before the marriage, and kept building during it. I was not helpless. I was heartbroken, but I was not helpless, so I raised Alex. By myself. Just the two of us. I went to every school play, I sat at every parent-teacher conference, I made dinner every night and helped with homework, and drove him to practices and held him when he cried. I was his mother and his father and his entire village, all at once. And I did it without a single dollar from John. 15 years passed the way years do when you are busy surviving. And then one day, Alex turned 18, and John came back. I still do not fully understand what brought him. Home, maybe guilt, maybe curiosity. Maybe he finally looked up from whatever life he had been living and realised he had a son he barely knew. Whatever the reason, he returned. And he reached out to Alex. Now, I want to be very careful here because this part of the story is delicate. Alex was 18. He was an adult. And when his father came back into his life, he was curious, he was hopeful. He was a young man who had grown up without a father, and suddenly that father was standing at the door. I understood that. I truly did. What I did not understand, and what hurt more than I expected, was the decision Alex made next. He told me he wanted to go live with his father, to get to know him, to build a relationship, to experience the life John could offer. Took a deep breath. I looked at my son, this boy I had poured my entire life into, and I said, okay, because I love him. And love sometimes means letting go. It was Alex. He told me he had been accepted to a university. He told me he was excited. He told me all the right things a mother loves to hear. And then he said it. He said, Mum, I need you to pay for my college tuition. I went very still, not angry. Not yet. Just still, I asked him what he meant. I asked him if he had spoken to his father about this, and Alex, my son, the boy I raised, told me that his father wasn't in a position to cover everything, and that since I had a good job, and had always provided for him, it made sense for me to handle it. I want you to understand what I felt at that moment. This was not just a conversation about money. This was 18 years of sacrifice being reduced to a line item. This was a son who had chosen to go live with his father, a man who contributed nothing, who disappeared across an ocean, who never once sent a birthday card, let alone a child. Support payment, now turning to me and asking me to keep funding a life he was choosing to build away from me. And his father, John, who had the audacity to come back into the picture after all those years, was somehow not expected to. Step up now? No. I told Alex, very clearly and very calmly. No. I told him that his father would be handling the college tuition. Alex was shocked. He pushed back. He said things that stung. Things about how I was supposed to support him, how I always had before, how I couldn't just stop now, and I listened. I let him say everything he needed to say, and then I said this. Alex, I love you more than you will ever fully understand. But love is not the same as being used. You made a choice. You chose to go build a relationship with your father. A man who was absent for every single year of your life before this one. That is your right. You are an adult, but your father is also an adult, and it is time for him to be one. I gave you everything I had for 18 years. I did it alone. I did it without help, without child support, without a partner, and I did it gladly, because you are my son, and I would do it all again. But I will not be the financial backup plan for a man who ran from his responsibilities. I will not fund a life you are choosing to live with the person who abandoned us both. Alex didn't have a response to that, and John, who I suspect was nearby, didn't reach out. Good. I want to pause here and speak to anyone listening who might be questioning me right now. Maybe you think I was too hard. Maybe you think a mother should never say no to her child's education, and I hear you. I genuinely do. But here is what I know about life, and what I hope my son will one day understand too. Every choice has a consequence. Not a punishment. A consequence. When Alex chose to go live with his father, he made a statement about where his life was going to be built. And that is okay, I support that. But you cannot choose someone and then expect the person you left behind to keep carrying your weight. And John needed to understand something too. You cannot walk back into a child's life after 18 years of absence and expect the woman who did all the work to keep doing it. You cannot be the fun new father and let the exhausted, faithful mother foot the bill. That is not how life works, or rather, that is not how life works anymore. Not for me. I had spent 18 years being the responsible one, the stable one, the one who showed up, and I was proud of that. I am still proud of that. But there is a version of responsibility that quietly becomes servitude if you are not careful. There is a version of being the strong one that slowly erodes who you are if you never allow yourself to also choose yourself. I had never chosen myself, until now. Within a year of that phone call, I made a decision that surprised even me. Move to Italy. I know. But let me explain. For years, I had this quiet dream sitting in the back of my mind. Italy, the food, the culture, the pace of life, the beauty of it. A place where I could just breathe. Where no one needed anything from me. Where I could figure out who Sara was, not Alex's mother, not John's ex-wife, but just Sara. And when I looked at my life after that phone call, I realised there was nothing holding me back anymore. My job could be done remotely. My son was an adult who had made his choice. My ex-husband had made his choices years ago, and so I made mine. I packed my apartment. I found a small flat in a beautiful city. I sat at outdoor cafes and ate food that made me close my eyes. I walked cobblestone streets at sunset. I made friends, who knew me only as the woman I was becoming, not the woman I had survived being. I started living, really, truly, fully living. I won't tell you that everything resolved itself neatly. Life is not a movie. There is no tidy ending with everyone sitting around a table laughing about the past. John and Alex had to figure out their financial situation on their own. From what I understand, it was not easy. College is expensive. And a father who had spent years avoiding financial responsibility was not suddenly a fountain of resources, but that was not my problem to solve. Alex and I still have a relationship. It is different now, quieter, more honest in some ways. He has matured. He has started to understand things about adulthood, about responsibility, about choices, that no one can teach you until you are living them. There have been hard conversations. There have been silences that stretched longer than they should have, but there has also been growth. And I truly believe, that the most loving thing I ever did for my son was refuse to protect him from the consequences of his choices. If you are listening to this and you see yourself somewhere in my story, I want to say something to you. You are allowed to be done. You are allowed to reach the end of what you can give and say, enough, not out of anger, not out of bitterness, but out of self-respect. You are allowed to love someone and still refuse to be used by them. You are allowed to be a wonderful mother, an incredible mother, and still choose your own life. Resilience is not just about enduring. Resilience is also about knowing when to stop enduring and start living. John and Alex are writing their own story now, and I am at peace with that, because I am finally writing mine. I am Sara, and I chose me.